BTS Jungkook suddenly became the center of attention after his actions in front of Rogers Stadium sent fans into a frenzy. When Park Jimin began to feel increasingly pressured by a crowd that was getting bolder and moving closer, Jungkook immediately stepped in and stood near him, seemingly acting as a shield. His movements were so quick and serious that many armies immediately began wondering what exactly was happening between them that made Jungkook look so ready to protect Jimin in the middle of a sea of fans. Welcome to Jimin Gallery, the home for Park Jimin fans who want to discover all the latest news, interesting facts, and stories behind the world's spotlight on Jimin. Jungkook once again created a heartwarming moment for fans after he was seen quickly looking out for Jimin amid the crowd gathered in front of Rogers Stadium in Toronto. During the fan interaction, the atmosphere suddenly became extremely crowded as several fans pushed forward in an attempt to get Jimin's autograph. As the excitement became increasingly difficult to control, Jungkook appeared to position himself to keep fans who were moving too close at bay. His firm yet controlled demeanor seemed to show that he did not want Jimin to be placed in an uncomfortable situation or risk being overwhelmed by the crowd. The moment immediately attracted attention. Jungkook appeared highly alert, keeping an eye on what was happening around Jimin, as if making sure that the idol still had enough space to breathe and interact with fans safely. His spontaneous movements made the atmosphere even more dramatic and sparked emotional reactions from the fans who witnessed it. For many fans, Jungkook's actions felt like a scene straight out of a romantic drama. Without saying much, he seemed to show his protective side when he saw Jimin surrounded by an increasingly uncontrollable crowd. Even while everyone's attention was focused on autographs and interactions with fans, Jungkook appeared more focused on making sure Jimin remained safe. The crowd, which had initially been filled with excitement, suddenly turned into a tense situation. Jungkook tried to create some distance so the pushing would not become worse, while Jimin remained in the middle of the situation. At a glance, Jungkook's immediate attention to Jimin's condition made the moment feel remarkably personal and meaningful. It is no surprise that footage of the incident quickly became a topic of discussion among fans. Many jokingly said that Jungkook looked like he was carrying out his duties as a boyfriend, a playful expression describing just how protective he appeared to be toward Jimin in that situation. The brief moment was even considered by some to be one of the sweetest yet most intense interactions to take place in Toronto. In the end, it was not just Jimin's autograph that captured everyone's attention. Jungkook's quick reaction became a spectacle of its own, leaving behind a dramatic impression of how he tried to look out for Jimin amid a sea of fans. That simple moment in front of Rogers Stadium turned into a scene that made many hearts race, as if Jungkook were silently saying that Jimin's safety was something that should never be overlooked. The moment Jungkook saw Jimin beginning to be squeezed by the crowd, he seemed to instantly become much more alert. There was little time to think, and his reaction appeared so quick that it was as though his body moved before his mind had time to process the situation. Amid the loud cheers and increasingly crowded atmosphere, Jungkook's attention seemed to immediately shift toward Jimin's position. Jungkook then appeared to move closer to Jimin. His body language seemed different from just moments earlier, particularly as he began watching the movements of the fans surrounding them. The gesture could be interpreted as a sign of vigilance, as though he wanted to make sure Jimin did not lose even more space in the constantly shifting crowd. When several fans appeared to move even closer in an attempt to get Jimin's autograph, Jungkook seemed to try to block the crowd's path. His actions made the moment feel like a dramatic scene from a movie, in which someone instinctively steps in front of the person they want to protect. Without needing to say many words, Jungkook's body language alone was enough to draw everyone's attention toward him. What made the moment even more interesting was Jungkook's seemingly serious expression and demeanor. While the atmosphere had previously been filled with smiles and excitement, his attention now appeared more focused on the situation around Jimin. He even seemed to gesture for the crowd not to move forward any further, creating a small amount of space between Jimin and the fans. Meanwhile, Jimin continued trying to handle the situation calmly. However, as the crowd became more packed, Jungkook's presence beside him gave the impression that he was not being left to deal with the pressure of the crowd alone. The brief moment felt even more emotional because it happened spontaneously, without any visible preparation or choreography. It is no surprise that fans quickly began highlighting Jungkook's behavior. Some jokingly described the moment as Jungkook carrying out his duties as a boyfriend, while others viewed it as the natural concern of a friend and fellow performer who simply did not want Jimin to be placed in an uncomfortable situation. Whatever the interpretation, Jungkook's body language made the moment feel incredibly intense. Ultimately, what captured the most attention was not simply the attempt to get Jimin's autograph, but Jungkook's spontaneous reaction when he realized that the situation was beginning to get out of control. Among all the people gathered in front of Rogers Stadium, he seemed to immediately recognize that Jimin needed more space. Within seconds, Jungkook moved closer, appearing almost like a protector amid the increasingly excited sea of fans. At first, the atmosphere in front of Rogers Stadium felt incredibly warm. The fans' excitement was obvious as they gathered to welcome Jimin, with smiles, greetings, and enthusiasm filling the area. Jimin also appeared to be enjoying the moment while continuing to give his attention to the fans who had come to see him. However, the situation gradually changed as more and more fans began moving closer. What had initially been a fun and exciting atmosphere slowly turned into a more crowded and tense situation. Several fans appeared to push forward in hopes of getting closer to Jimin and obtaining the idol's autograph. Amid the situation, Jimin continued trying to maintain a smile. He seemed determined to appreciate the fans' enthusiasm even though the space around him was becoming increasingly limited. Jimin's smile made the moment feel even more emotional because behind that friendly expression was a situation that was becoming increasingly difficult to control. Unlike Jimin, who continued trying to appear calm, Jungkook seemed increasingly serious as he observed what was happening. His eyes appeared to follow the movement of the crowd, while his body language showed a heightened sense of awareness. As the distance between Jimin and the fans grew smaller, Jungkook appeared to take a more protective stance, seemingly helping to create some space. That contrast was what made the moment feel so dramatic. Jimin continued smiling amid the roar of excited fans, while Jungkook appeared focused on making sure the situation did not become even more chaotic. During those tense few seconds, Jungkook's attention seemed to be focused on one thing: making sure Jimin remained safe amid the overwhelming enthusiasm of the fans. There were no lengthy words heard from Jungkook during the moment. Instead, it was his silence that drew even more attention. As the area around Jimin began to feel increasingly crowded, Jungkook appeared to respond through his body language, moving closer and watching the movements of the people around them. In an instant, Jungkook seemed to become a shield for Jimin. His body was positioned between Jimin and the direction from which the crowd was approaching, creating the impression that he was trying to provide enough space so Jimin would not feel increasingly pressured. That simple movement somehow felt more powerful than any words could have been. Jimin, meanwhile, continued trying to keep the atmosphere from becoming too tense. His smile and calm demeanor remained visible even as the situation grew more crowded, while Jungkook appeared much more serious. The contrast shifted fans' attention from what had simply been a fan interaction into a tense scene that unfolded within a matter of seconds. It is no surprise that fans later offered various interpretations of the moment. Some viewed it as a sign of Jungkook's concern and attentiveness toward Jimin, even joking that he was carrying out his duties as a boyfriend. However, that expression is simply an interpretation or joke made by fans and is not confirmation of a romantic relationship between the two. What is clear is that, without saying much, Jungkook's actions were enough to create a memorable moment. Amid the noisy crowd, he appeared to choose to stand closer and help maintain some space around Jimin. Whether it is interpreted as the behavior of a friend, a fellow performer, or simply a spontaneous act of concern, the moment when Jungkook seemingly became Jimin's shield successfully turned the atmosphere in Toronto into a dramatic scene that was difficult to forget. Armies who witnessed the moment firsthand, or through circulating footage, were immediately sent into a frenzy. Their attention was suddenly focused not only on Jimin, who was being surrounded by fans, but also on Jungkook, who appeared quick to take up a position beside him. The brief moment felt so dramatic that many fans admitted they could not help but be distracted by Jungkook's actions. The atmosphere seemed to change within seconds. What had initially been filled with excitement and cheerful energy suddenly shifted as fans focused on Jungkook's noticeably more serious gestures. Some fans even described the scene as something straight out of a movie, where one character instinctively steps forward to protect another amid a chaotic situation. Many fans also joked that Jungkook was doing his job as a boyfriend. Of course, that phrase is merely an interpretation and joke from some fans, rather than evidence or confirmation of a romantic relationship between the two. Even so, the way Jungkook responded to the situation certainly gave fans plenty of room for imagination. The moment became even more emotional because Jungkook did not need to do anything excessive. Simply by standing closer, watching the direction of the crowd, and helping create space for Jimin, he was already able to capture everyone's attention. For fans, it was precisely his quiet yet protective demeanor that made the scene feel so powerful. And as the roar of fans continued to fill the area around Rogers Stadium, a dramatic picture seemed to unfold in the middle of the crowd. Jimin continued trying to smile, while Jungkook stood watchfully beside him. Amid thousands of eyes watching, Jungkook's attention appeared to be focused on just one thing, making sure Jimin was not pushed or pressured any further.